A while back, I created a video on the picture you can see right here. It is of a 12th SS soldier captured by Canadians about mid-June 44 in Normandy. The Canadian troops are from the Regiment de Chaudière. The SS soldier was captured somewhere between Rooij and Carpiquet. Footage was also taken of this prisoner of war. It said in the newsreel that French civilians are responsible for what happened to this SS prisoner.
With the respect of one fighting man for another, they receive honorable treatment at our hands. French peasants with years of indignity to avenge are not so particular. Some of the prisoners are badly beaten before they can be rescued by our forces.
In the video I created, I kind of take some issue with this based on a number of facts about the situation at the time. I didn't really go into the video because I didn't think the video would do well if I did. The video's done quite well, so that's led to a situation with a lot of comments saying I'm just making this stuff up. I'm assuming a bunch of things. I don't have facts to support any of this, etc., etc. So this led me to a couple thoughts. The first is to show you how history is done. One of the comments I saw saying if you don't have a report about this, you can't come to any conclusions about it at all. Only a report from the time is the way to know the truth, which is not how history is done ever. We don't have official reports about all kinds of things, and we still come to conclusions about them. Also, why I came to this conclusion is based on a ton of evidence, and I'm going to take you through the evidence of how I came to this conclusion and more I've even found since then that really highlights why I come to the conclusion that I do. So one of the points that I thought about all this, because of the comment that is right here, has to do with these civilians possibly being in the area because of other events and other things where civilians did things. And it's not how the history worked. Or just because the situation is similar to the one you may be looking at doesn't mean that that has anything to do with the situation. You can see here also as well, they're talking about things that have happened in Ukraine recently, and those are tragic events. They don't really have anything to do with what we're talking about here, and they're not evidence for anything going on here. I'm not saying 100% guaranteed that the Canadians did this to the 12th SS POW. What I'm trying to say is claim in the newsreel, which only has around 5,000 views on YouTube, and my video has over 300,000, where so many people are believing the newsreel over me, even though they've never seen the newsreel, because then I don't know where else it's really available, maybe on Facebook or something. But those numbers just don't match. So they're willing to believe a newsreel that they've never seen over me, who's done actual research into this. And I can kind of, again, go through what that research looks like. So these comments are just making interesting things. They're saying I'm coming up with stuff. I'm making stuff up. I'm not saying I know 100% of the answer, but how history is done is we go with what evidence is out there, what evidence we can find to make conclusions based on things we don't know fully about, or trying to add a new interpretation or something like that. So to say it's like I'm just making stuff up is not true at all. And I'll show you how I go about doing that. In the photo here, you can see the Canadian soldier. It's not the clearest version of this photo. There's ones with different editing, all that kind of stuff. You can tell that this is a soldier of the Regiment de Chaudière, Canadian unit of the 3rd Infantry Division that's fighting outside Rooij, France in mid-June 1944. And I was able to confirm that that's when this photo was taken based on Canadian Army Film and Photography Unit records. So that's able to give us a location of where this is going on. So this map shows the area of Rooij and Carpiquet. So that's where the Chaudière are at the time. So there are 12th SS in the area as well. They're holding the area around Carpiquet. The Canadians are aside Rooij and LaVigne, which sometimes gets lost in this fighting. It's a separate little town at the time. So that's important because I want to show you some other evidence of what we're coming up with here. So this confirms that the Chaudière and 12th SS are coming in contact. The Chaudière war diary is full of all kinds of references of patrolling in this area. So they're in contact with the 12th SS a lot. So this is a photo of Villeneuve. So why I wanted to bring this up is people keep claiming, oh, there's civilians in the area. There's civilians in the area. I very much doubt it. There's not really anywhere for them to go, right? Villeneuve is in Canadian hands. Carpiquet is in 12th SS hands. And from all accounts that I've seen, including both sides, there's no mention of civilians really at all in this area. There's some behind the lines and other spots, but not in this sort of no man's land that had developed between the two sides. People are just, again, making a ton of assumptions about this stuff, saying I'm doing that, but then they go and do it as well. It doesn't make much sense. So this photo showing there's nothing outside Villeneuve other than the town itself. So there's not much going on there. So I don't know where these civilians would be. And this photo is from June. Late June, so roughly around the same time. Not much would have changed, more bomb craters and artillery craters, but that's pretty much it. So this is a photo that is closer to Carpiquet. Again, so on the side here, and I'll give some pointers here to give some direction, is Villeneuve, the Villeneuve side, as I guess I'll call it, and the Carpiquet side. So you can see the buildings that are part of the Carpiquet airfield there at the bottom, and then you can see some cratering in the middle. That was a German gun position, probably anti-aircraft and anti-tank, as they could be dual purpose, which had been hit by artillery and bombing. You can see craters, and it only gets worse from there. So again, this is the area that we're talking about here, and it's wide open. So again, this claim that there's these civilians possibly hiding somewhere. Someone said that there are ravines to hide in. Again, they're making assumptions with no knowledge of this area. There's no ravines there. There wasn't ravines back there during the time, and they're still not today. They're claiming that all kinds of damage happened to France. Well, it didn't create ravines and places to hide in fields. These are farmer fields that are full of German troops, and I can show another piece of evidence of why I also come to this conclusion. This map is really important because it's showing, based on aerial photos and reconnaissance done by the Canadian troops in the area, of what the German positions look like. So again, I'll highlight where Rooij and also where Carpiquet is. And all of these blue lines, those are German machine gun positions. So again, we've seen the aerial photos, which are pretty much empty. There's not even farm buildings in between the two. And not only that, but the Germans are dug in all throughout this. So I don't think there's many civilians in between get into a situation where they can even come in contact with the 12th SS soldier to beat them to almost, the face is a bloody pulp there. And then all of a sudden the Canadians come in and save the guy. And that makes no sense based on the evidence available. If there's a civilian in between all this waiting to go nab a guy, that just is nonsensical to me based on the available evidence. So as I like to say, you can't logic history. It doesn't make sense in that way. You can't just come at a point because you think it's like this, or this was like that, or whatever. These conclusions are come to based on evidence. And I've been looking at this particular photo for a long time. This isn't just a knee-jerk reaction. I've been digging on this and trying to understand it as best as possible. I think things like this map are a huge clue as to what's going on here. The Canadians are creating this map to, save their own lives. So again, people would say, oh, it's fake, or they don't know everything. And yeah, they're going to miss some positions. But if a civilian's in here in what is predominantly farmland, I mean, power to them to be out there and to wait to nab somebody, to beat the crap out of them. But I just don't see that as the situation going on here.